In this week's episode, I'm going to be inviting you to actively participate with your imagination. And it's going to give you some insights into what can be getting in the way of you getting the results that you want, whether it comes to income, to business, to doing something with your time that really lights you up. We're going to be talking about cognitive resonance and cognitive dissonance. So welcome to this week's episode of your Power Packed Podlets. My name is Rachel and I'm your host for these mini magical journeys together. So let's dive straight in, and in a moment I'm going to be inviting you to use your imagination. Now before we do, I will be using an example related to those of you who are holistic wellness and spiritual entrepreneurs, so that this really resonates for those of you who are. Now, if that is not you, and if this isn't the type of thing that you're building, then I invite you to translate it into something that does resonate for you and is relevant. So first off, let's focus on imagination. I invite you to contemplate upon something related to income, business, clients, time freedom that you've been wanting to manifest. You've been hungry for it and you've been struggling to make it happen. Now I invite you to focus on your identity. Is the identity you currently hold around yourself in resonance with what you desire to manifest? And the reason I ask you this question is I worked in the fitness industry for circa 15 years. And very early on in my journey, I had this thing. I love to observe people and ask questions. And I would see certain groups of clients doing really well and not self-sabotaging. And then I would see the occasional client. And I would know the moment they walked through the doors that this would be the case. I had an intuitive inner knowing that they were going to sabotage their results, and probably just before they were about to get the results they desired, just before they were about to see massive progress. And early on in my journey, I found this really frustrating because I wanted to see my clients thrive. And so when I started to notice the difference between the groups, I then decided to dive into understanding the psychology behind success, how the mind and the nervous system work, and what this has to do with the subconscious programming, but also programming in the body. And something that became very clear very quickly was the following. The group of people that would consistently self-sabotage, so they would come to me after a period of time of training, they'd be enjoying it, they'd be getting results, and then before they saw massive progress, before it really locked in as a habit that they built and that they would consistently come back to again and again, they'd come to me with all sorts of reasons that seemed really valid to stop training and to go back to old eating habits. It would be everything from, oh, it's the summer holidays, my kids are off, I need to look after them. Oh, work's got really busy. Oh, we've just had a big payment go out and there's not so much money, I can't stretch to it this month. Or I'm going to go and try training on my own because I think I've learned enough now and I can do this by myself. And so off they would go. And then sometimes they would come back to me 6 months later and they would start again. By this point, something had shifted in me because I'd become very clear on what was required of them. Because in that group of people, they would be holding one of the following identities. That they were a type of person like them would never enjoy exercise. I'm not the type of person who enjoys exercise. I really don't enjoy eating healthily. Exercise is hard. I'm the sort of person who, for me, exercise just has never been my thing. And so they would come to me desiring a result, but not desiring to be the person who naturally has those results. And so there would be cognitive dissonance. Their identity was they hated exercise, and there they were, making themselves do exercise to get a result. So the means to get the result was something they did not enjoy versus actually enjoying the learning process and the becoming process. So what I then changed with these clients is I would focus on really acknowledging the identity and helping them to shift the way that they saw these things. It would be done in really subtle neuro-linguistic programming ways to help them realize that exercise is in fact fun, that you do not have to be a super fit person to become fit. You don't have to have loved exercise when you were a kid. You could have been bullied at school when it came to fitness and still fall in love with fitness. And I would teach them through this gradual process to really fall in love with the exercise. And so the result then became a byproduct of enjoying the journey. They would then gradually identify, we would do the identity work in alignment with it. So they would identify as being somebody who in the past I was this and now I am that. In the past I was somebody who didn't realize how fun exercise is. Now I realize it's very enjoyable. I am somebody who's learned to love exercise. Their identity would change. And then what would happen is if they stopped training, not doing exercise would be in cognitive dissonance with the identity they held of themselves. Now let's come back to those questions I posed you. What's the thing that you've been wanting to manifest and been struggling with? And what's the identity you currently hold? Because this is something I see in the holistic, spiritual, and wellness industries, that you hold the identity being exceptional at what you do. You've mastered the art. You really understand what it is you offer people and you know the value of it. But what you do not understand is having the identity of being the owner of a company, the founder of something big, understanding how wealth is created, being a wealthy person, being a business savvy woman, not holding that as part of your identity. So when you're desiring to make greater levels of wealth, when you're desiring to have a successful business, but the identity you hold is of being a service provider who struggles financially and only just makes it by month to month, of course you're going to struggle to make greater levels of wealth because there is a cognitive dissonance. And so what you will find yourself doing is, in the identity of service provider, of self-employed, you're making decisions from that identity. You're making moves from that identity. You're investing from that place. Versus when you're a business savvy woman, when you're the owner of a company, you make decisions from a very different identity. So when you hear people talking about the identity piece, this is what is meant, because the nervous system, like the cellular response of a business savvy woman, is very different from the cellular response of somebody who's a service provider. And this, for those of you who that is your current identity, is going to change the game. When you begin to stretch yourself into being the owner of a company, you're going to show up differently. You're going to work with money differently. You're going to charge differently from your services. A lot of the things you're currently doing in your business that are sapping your energy, taking time, and not making you money will not make sense for you as a business savvy owner for you to be doing anymore. And so you really shift everything, how everything is done, how you understand the ecosystem of everything you're creating changes. And so it is not about strategy alone. It is about you shifting into the identity of the person who has the results. So the results that you desire are in cognitive resonance in your subconscious mind and in your nervous system. There are so many ways that we can understand this and we can have this conversation. For today, this is the one. May some lessons have landed. May it have made sense for you on a whole new level. So now I have one more question for you, and it's the following. What are you going to do to shift identities, to become the version of self and to know thyself, know yourself as that, the version of you that is in cognitive resonance with the results that you want? You will have heard me say this before. As a business and as a service provider, don't create something and try to sell it. See what your ideal client needs and then create a service or product that serves those people. And then what you offer sells itself. It's one of the reasons I built the school the way I built it, because I know that the identity piece is so important. Because when you identify as something, then you create it easily. No resistance, not having to work harder. It just makes logical sense in your body and your mind. This is why the school is long term. This is why the school is for women who are here to make a difference in the world, learning what it is to be business savvy in a supportive environment. So let me actually ask you one last question. As a business owner, a service provider, somebody who wants to have impact, what are the environments you're creating for the people that you're serving so that they themselves can also have these shifts?